Okay. We need I've got to walk in front of the camera. You just got to service all by yourself. What do you want? For Christmas.
Every time I try to figure out,
good watching it. I walked out this way. I went wrong. I got one of my naps. So when I was walking, I heard home.
Just FYI, but I still cover up the time.
No, it was me. I was really late.
we did. We got scared about
Good morning, Tyler Rotary. Can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Just next a little bit.
I bet you can hear me now.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Tyler Rotary. It is such a joy and privilege to stand before all of you beautiful people today. Once again, I'm sorry that I'm standing here and you're out there and you don't have this magnificent view, but it's really special and wonderful. Today is an especially great day because we have some incredible guests with us today. And there's so much exciting things going on in our Rotary Club. I won't have time to tell you everything, but I can tell you that this is a wonderful club with wonderful people, and everybody here will welcome you with open arms. Thank you for coming today. Okay, make sure you silence your cell phones, and I'm going to do mine at the same time, and my watch, because sometimes it goes off too. Okay. First thing I want to say today is thank you to our magnificent pianist, Daniel Armstrong. He is such a treat and a blessing for us. And thank you for being here, Daniel. We love your playing. Okay, and now then, if you'll all stand, Allison Cambray is going to come up and lead us in the pledge and the national anthem.
Let us face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, sing and Lucy, I early on, and so proudly be hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, with cross stripes and bright stars through the peril watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free, and the home of the brave?
Allison, you're awesome. What a voice. Okay, I want to thank our greeters for today. Wait a second. I'm sorry, I'm completely off. Okay, for the invocation and introductions, Dr. D.M. Edwards, would you please come help me?
Great to have such a wonderful crowd to work the way through today. Please join me as we pray together. Father, as we look at the bright and shining faces here today, we're grateful for the many privileges and liberties that we have as citizens of the United States of America. We thank you for the right of free assembly, such as meetings like ours today. We thank you for the one that we're honoring today for 31 distinguished years of leadership here in Tyler and Smith County, and these outstanding students that we have the privilege of recognizing them in their school today. We ask for your guidance and direction in all that we attempt to accomplish for you, Lord. We ask it all in your perfect name. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. We're delighted to have a great number of visitors here today as we celebrate the substantial years of Tyler and Smith County from our honoree today. At the table right here, I'd like to recognize three guests that I have. The pastor of First Baptist Church Tyler, Reverend Pike Wisner. If you'd stand and let us welcome you. And we're delighted to have Derek Bondurant and Annie Dwyer. Would you all please stand? Let us welcome you. And guest here at the back table on this side.
You know, my mom is sitting back there in that beautiful tangerine
Outfit. Yes.
Yeah.
Please stand. Let us welcome you. Okay. Ms. Pettigrew.
We're glad to have with us again today Jim Hutchins, back for his third visit with us.
Great.
I think that's going to make him. That makes him a member.
Absolutely. And then visitors here in the center of the room.
I brought my friend Kelvin Woodson to Tyler Living Room.
Wonderful. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Other guests here on this side of the room.
DM, I have Paul Pruitt with me. He's our new director of annual giving at Tyler Junior College.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
And I have two guests, my clients, Opal Ortega and Michael Salazar. They just relocated their Greg Fox residence to Tyler, County.
Awesome.
Welcome. And other guests.
I'm delighted to have two guests with you today. Bill and Myrick and Kevin Jr. They are the president and vice president, uncontested, of Tyler
And we want to welcome back to Tyler, past president Susan Brown here, who has rejoined the club. Stand up, Susan. Let's welcome you back. We hope you'll all come back often.
Thank you, DM. What a joy, what a treat. Welcome all you guests. Thank you so much for coming today. I hope this will be a great hour for you and that you'll really enjoy it. I know you'll enjoy Tom Mullins. He always is fascinating, to say the least. Now then, I want to give a special thanks to our greeters for today, two of my very favorite men in the world, Jim Bland Jr. and Leland Ferguson. Jim Blair. I always say that, I'm sorry. And now then, for truly my favorite part of the program and my dear friend and our famous radio host, Paul Gleiser.
Thank you, Pamela. Today, on the 12th of November, 1980, Voyager 1, which is an unmanned space probe, having been launched from Cape Canaveral in September of 1977, more than 3 years earlier, flew within 77,000 miles of Saturn. That's like being about 80 miles from the moon. And took the first high-resolution photos, previously believed to be encircled by 6 rings. We learned from those photos that Saturn is encircled by hundreds of rings, a complex system. Voyager left the solar system about 2 years ago. It is now the most distant man-made object from Earth. It is the fastest-moving man-made object ever. And is still 40 years after its launch, sending back data to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. On the 13th of November, 1982, the Vietnam Memorial was dedicated in Washington, D.C. It was initially criticized by veterans of the conflict. The memorial has since come to be greatly admired. It's now the second most visited memorial in Washington, behind the Lincoln Memorial. Said one veteran at the ceremony, "It's the parade we never got." On the 14th of November, 1970, a chartered jet carrying most of the Marshall University football team crashed on approach to the airport in Canoga, West Virginia, killing the entire football team, save for 9 players who didn't travel for that game, along with the coaches, the team doctor, the university athletic director, and 25 boosters who were among the most prominent citizens of Huntington, West Virginia. And I highly recommend the movie called We Are Marshall. If you haven't seen it, it's a very good movie. On the 15th of November, 1864, having set the industrial section of Atlanta, Georgia ablaze, Union General William T. Sherman sent his troops out from Atlanta toward the seaport of Savannah. The march took 6 weeks, was marked by the utter devastation left by Sherman in his wake, come to be called Sherman's March to the Sea. On the 16th of November, 1959, Maria von Trapp, a former nun, never ran around the hills surrounding Salzburg, Austria, singing about copper kettles. And she did not, with her husband and their brood of kids, hike across the Alps to escape the Nazis. But the Broadway musical, inspired by those things that never happened, and really by Maria von Trapp's autobiography, showed her doing all of those things in 1,443 sold-out performances of The Sound of Music, which debuted on this date in 1959. The stage performance starring Mary Martin opened a huge business on Broadway. The movie, starring Julie Andrews, played for 91 weeks at the Inwood Theater in Dallas, Texas on Lover's Lane. 91 weeks. On the 17th of November, 1968, with 65 seconds left to play in the game between the Oakland Raiders and the New York Jets that had gone long due to high scoring and a lot of penalties, NBC bailed out of the broadcast in favor of the movie Heidi, which was scheduled to begin. After NBC bailed out, Oakland scored 2 touchdowns in 9 seconds to retake the lead and win a game in which the lead had changed 9 times. Irate callers crashed the phone systems of the National Broadcasting Company, the New York Times, and the New York Police Department. It was the last time that a network would ever leave an NFL game before its conclusion. And finally, on Wednesday, the 18th of November, 1883, to end the confusion attendant to operating by literally dozens of local time standards, the major railroads of the United States and Canada entered into an agreement that began at exactly 12 noon in New York on November the 18th, 1883, dividing the North American continent into 4 standardized time zones. That was not officially adopted by the U.S. government until 1918, but it became de facto due to the popularity among local citizens. Birthdays in the coming week, starting tomorrow, Whoopi Goldberg turns 65. And perhaps the most stunning example of a child who still lives at home and hasn't gotten a job, Charles, Prince of Wales, turns 72. Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State in the Bush administration, turns 66 on Saturday. Actor Ed Asner, Lou Grant, turns 91 on Sunday. And actor Danny DeVito turns 76 on Tuesday. That's this week in history.
Oh, you're awesome, as always. Isn't it great? We're so blessed to have him in our club. Okay, now then, for a very special part of our meeting today, I would like to invite Mary Birch and King Ramey to come forward. We have some very ultra special guests today from Chapel Hill High School. Let's give them a hand.
Hello, everybody. It's the Mary King Show again. Today we're honored to have Chapel Hill High School with us to recognize their two outstanding senior students. And with them, first of all, from the school, is the principal, Jason Caldwell, and the CTE counselor, Kimberly Harris. And our first winner is Catherine Harris, if you'd like to come on up. Adams, excuse me, Catherine Adams. Thank you. And accompanying Catherine today is her grandmother, Rosemary Steele. Coming over here. And just a few of the accomplishments as to why her school chose Catherine is she has 4 solo and ensemble first division ratings for twirling. I was a twirler. One state solo and ensemble for first division rating. She won first place in state qualifier for biomedical debate at HOSA area. What does that mean?
Future health professionals.
Future health professionals. And she has 2 solo and ensembles first division ratings in band on the trumpet. And she is ranked only number 1. I believe that's called valedictorian in her class. And guess where she's going to college? Texas A&M at Commerce, and she's going to major in nursing. So, Catherine, congratulations. And King's going to make a winner.
Thank you, Mary. Our next winner is Max Richardson. Max, why don't you come on up, please? Max is accompanied by his parents, Chad and Ruby Richardson. And why don't you kind of just lift your hands, Chad and Ruby Richardson. We're recognizing Max today for the following accomplishments. 3-year starter in varsity football. What position do you play?
Linebacker.
Aren't you on the playoffs?
Yes, sir, we are.
Will graduate 37 dual credit hours. Ranked number 3 in the class. 3-year state qualifier in fishing. Fishing.
Yes, they do that.
I know. It's a half.
And he co-owns a business, 316 Pest Control.
Wow.
He plans to attend TJC and major in business. Congratulations, Max.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary and Kim. I want y'all to know it's not an easy job picking those students, and they have to be really outstanding, as you just learned, to achieve the Outstanding High School Student Award. So we're really proud of you guys. Please hang around after the meeting so we can get your pictures and all that stuff for the website. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Who knows what tonight is? Raise your hand if you've already. Okay, tonight is our first affiliate mixer with the Chamber of Commerce Tyler Young Professional Network, which is about the coolest group of young business people you could ever enjoy an evening with. So I am absolutely thrilled to have this opportunity tonight at 5:30 at Hobbies. Please, if you haven't turned in your reservation yet, it's not too late. $24 for 2 drinks and really great appetizers. And even if you didn't get any of that, you would have 2 hours with some bright minds, beautiful young people, and an opportunity to knock their socks off and make them want to join Tyler Rotary. Okay?
They need to see me if they're going to come.
You need to see Holly if you're going to come. It's not too late, so step out and do something, Jim Blair. Okay. All right. Got that done. Who read the newsletter this week? Dixie Austin? Oh, good. There was a really wonderful quote in the newsletter this week. Who knows who? If you know, raise your hand. Claudia Carroll. She had her hand up first. Sorry, Austin. You win 5 Rotary tickets for reading the newsletter this week. Go, Claudia. Read your newsletter. You might win something at the next meeting.
Hey, what was the quote?
I have that right here on my phone. Hold on. Touche, Dixie. But I did read the quote. I don't have that great of memory. And it's not because of my age. I never have. Okay. Inspiration for this week from Holly, which I always love this. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing. I didn't read that very well. Let me do that. Especially in front of these high school students. They're going, my God, she can't even read. Okay. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing. Okay? So make it a resolution to succeed. That's it. It's more important than anything. It's like the law of attraction. Okay, enough on that. Congratulations again, Claudia. Let's see. The Christmas social, speaking of socials, will be Thursday, December the 17th at Villaggio del Vino from 5:30 to 7:30. So put that on your calendar, Villaggio del Vino for December the 17th. A great time will be had by all. And that'll be a wonderful Christmas celebration for all of us. Okay, next. Our program for next week is going to be Luann Harms with the Alzheimer's Alliance. God, I can't read. Okay, Bill Pascal, would you please come up here and save me? Bill is going to introduce our speaker for today.
There, man. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
You know, it's kind of ironic. I read an article about that football game where NBC cut out real early, and everybody was just livid about that. It was written by some media analyst in New York City, that's been all over this for decades. He thought that he would never, ever see something like that again, but he was proven wrong after what Fox News did here on election night. Well, you guys probably know our guest of honor today. It's Tom Mullins, who is President and CEO of the Tyler Economic Development Council and the Tyler Area Chamber of Commerce. In 1971, he was awarded a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science at the University of Minnesota in Duluth. And in 1975, earned a master's degree in social development at the University of Minnesota in Duluth. He has done a lot
to advance Tyler and Smith County economically since he got here. When he got here, things were pretty tough, and they're a whole lot better now. So without any further ado, please welcome Tom Mullins.
Thank you, Bill. Well, thanks for having me back. This has always been a fun group to talk to. And I appreciate the enthusiasm in this group. Pamela Walters, she's so kind of laid back all the time, isn't she? Yeah. I'm excited about anything. Pamela, you always do a great job. We've worked with Pamela for years. She's been active in the Chamber, the Economic Development Council, and is a real resource for the community. So, I think Bill reached out to me a couple months ago to get me on the schedule for today. Oh, and congratulations to the outstanding student from Chapel Hill. And a couple months ago, I was still employed. I was with the Tyler Economic Development Council and the Tyler Area Chamber of Commerce. But I said, you know, even though I won't be full-time when you have your meeting in November, I still will be working with those organizations. What I've done is I've created my own LLC, TG Mullins Consulting LLC. And the first contract I had was to help the new person, Scott Martinez, who I hoped was going to be with me today so I could physically present him. But I'm helping him network, and we're working on some projects that have some potential large impact on the economy. But he got called away by another PD meeting today with some of our state legislator, the legislative delegation for the Tyler area and Smith County, and the mayor and the county judge and city manager. So, and he'd heard me do one of these presentations once before, and I said, you don't need to hear it again, but they will miss having a first-hand introduction to you. And I hope you reach out to Scott and bring him back and have him talk about his strategy and his story. So today, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the economic trends, quick encapsulation of some highlights for the past 31 years, talk about some of the projects. And every single time I come and talk to this group, the most exciting part of it for me is the interaction with you all in the room, because you all have great questions, and we can try to answer as many of those as I can. So, back in 1989, in fact, Tyler Today magazine called me today, and they're doing a little story about the 30 plus years TDC, and so this all started when I was up in Rochester, Minnesota, and I got a call from somebody I didn't know. It turned out to be a headhunter with a search firm who started the conversation. Now remember, I should say this first, it was in the middle of December in Rochester, Minnesota. He started off by saying, would you be interested in a job in the Sun Belt? I said, you caught me at a vulnerable moment. Because I'm watching the Canadian beach coming down for a landing on an icy pond outside of our office. Really very pretty, but we had 4 more months of that coming at us. And we'd been thinking about making a move to a Sun Belt state anyhow. But I gotta be honest, he didn't tell me that where. He was with a New York company called Ward Howe, but they had an office in Dallas. So after we talked for a number of minutes, I said, so tell me where in the Sun Belt? And he said, Texas. I said, no. I'd only been to Texas once, National Fraternity Conference in Dallas. But I never really learned much about the state. In fact, most people have this impression. My concept of Texas was West Texas. You know, we all got that around the country from John Wayne movies, which were actually filmed in Arizona. But the idea was that's what Texas looked like, and I was thinking more about the Carolinas, Florida, or Arizona, California, that part of the country. But we agreed
to meet at a location near the Minneapolis airport. He flew up and we talked. And keep in mind, this is before internet. So you can't just go online and Google Tyler, Texas. I'd heard of the Tyler Rose, so I was that familiar with Tyler, Texas. But I had no idea there was a green part of Texas, with hills and trees and lakes and all that we have around us. So he convinced me to come down and do an interview. I came down in January. That went well, and then I came back in March. Middle of March, what happens in the middle of March in Tyler, Texas? Azalea trails, the leaves are coming out. It was 75 degrees. I picked up a copy of USA Today, a blizzard going through Rochester, Minnesota. So weather had a lot to do with me being here today. But when I started, it's really, when you think of the bookends of the years here, I came down because of an economic crisis. Some of you who were in Tyler at that time remember pretty well. It was not a good time. The energy sector had collapsed. There was a lot of angst. Some people call it a recession, but this area was hit so hard it was borderline depression. People losing their jobs, banks changing. Bank signs were being put up with Velcro because they were changing ownership. So every few weeks or every couple of months. People upside down on mortgages, having to leave the community. And then I feel a little bit guilty about this, but I'm handing Scott Martinez the reins in the middle of a pandemic and another recession. But in between, things went pretty well. And so that's what I'm going to choose to remember as the 30 plus years in between. So the Development Council was a startup, and that was my niche in Minnesota. I had started a development group after graduate school in Duluth, town of similar size of Tyler, and then went up on what they call the Iron Range of Minnesota, where all the dialect for the movie Fargo was recorded. That people actually talk like that on the Iron Range of Minnesota. Somebody says, "Paul, did you eat yet?" Translation, "Did you eat yet?" Response, "Tweet. Too early to eat." That's the Iron Range, and you just learn how to translate that. And then I went from there to Rochester, Minnesota, which is another city of about 100,000, but more famously known for the birthplace of the Mayo Clinic. Huge driver of the economy. So I had done startups in all three of those, and this was a startup down here, so that background was really helpful and part of the reason that I got selected. In fact, when I came here, there were 20 members of the Economic Development Council and about 140,000 in pledges. I think now I moved my family cross country for that commitment. But now we average 120 members, and we have a $10 million balance sheet. We are, a lot of people, even in Tyler, don't understand it. We are not part of the local government. None of the jobs I've ever had have been part of the local government. I've always worked for a private, nonprofit structure with investors, and that's what we have here in Tyler. Those 120 investors write checks every year if we perform, and they support the overhead of the organization. We own three different business parks. We own both sides of Earl Campbell Parkway. It's a light industrial distribution target on the north side of Earl Campbell, and then on the south side is a technology park, highly restricted. Then we own about 120 acres up by UT Health, East Texas, a bioscience park, to take advantage of all the biomedical research that's continuing to go on there. Plus, we operate two revolving loan funds. We jointly own property with the Chamber of Commerce downtown, and so all of that leads to a $10 million balance sheet. After I was here for 3 years, starting the development group, I was asked to also take over the Chamber of Commerce. So I've done in 1992. So I've done both since 1992, and so it's the Economic Development Council, the Chamber, and part of the Chamber is the Visitors Bureau. I spent my time 70-30, and it worked because, is he still a member of this club?
Yeah,
Henry Bell, he's the COO. Now the new structure is split again. Scott will be responsible, but instead of 70-30, it'll be 90-10. And so he's off
to a good start. Just a little bit about Scott. He's a native from Mississippi. And he grew up in Laurel, Mississippi, which is the hometown of Sanderson Farms, one of our newest corporate partners. And he actually knows some of the Sanderson family. He went to Old Miss as an undergrad and then to Southern Miss for his master's in economic development. But his first job after his master's degree was Conroe, Texas Economic Development. So then he went back to Mississippi, worked for the governor's office for a couple of years, but then he was recruited back to Texas and worked in Round Rock and was there several years, and then went over to Hutto, where he was there a little over 5 years, and he worked closely with another name you might know here in Tyler, Ed Bussard. Our city manager here was the city manager there back then, so they have a great relationship. So he's had a lot of experience in Texas and in towns that are really close to fast-growing markets, Conroe north of Houston and Round Rock and Hutto around the Austin magnet. But for the last 7.5 years, he's been in northern Louisiana with the Northern Louisiana Economic Development Partnership. Again, a privately funded group. It covers 11,000 square miles in 14 parishes. And so one of the reasons he was attracted to Tyler, the opportunity here, was he had two houses, one in Shreveport and one in Monroe, 100 miles apart. He was driving continually. So he was looking forward to being with a community that had an established program but wouldn't require that kind of driving and moving around geographically. So he started October 1, and I think he's got great credentials. He's very highly regarded in the business. When his name popped up on the search firm, because we started the search last winter, and it winnowed down to 5 finalists. When we saw Scott's name on that, I did not have a vote, but I was advising the search group. We'll be lucky if we get that guy, I said to myself. And the search group came to that same conclusion, and he started October 1. So some other things historically that I put in place quickly was to target primary employers, to try to diversify away from energy and oil and gas. And the definition of primary that we've used consistently over the years is it's got to be a company that makes something. It can be an air conditioning unit like Trane, or it can be a software package like Genesis. But they sell it outside of East Texas. They sell it nationally or even internationally. That brings new money back in. That actually grows the economy. Even though some local companies think that we recruit retail or competing grocery stores, we don't. We've never put any incentives in place for retail or grocery stores, and the reason is we're in the business of making the economic pie bigger, not cutting it up into smaller pieces. And if you incentivize retail, I tell people, think about, you got a balloon inflated, and you squeeze on this side of the balloon, what happens? The balloon doesn't get bigger, does it? You just have moved the volume of air to the other side of the balloon. And so it wouldn't make sense for us to target retail or local service. And so we've always been very true to the definition of primary employers. And then underneath that, retaining and expanding existing companies. You've all been down near Trane lately and see a brand new headquarters facility, very nice presentation. Those big companies have choices of where they can go. In fact, some of you might remember in the early 90s, we competed against Natchitoches, Louisiana for the School Professor, 600 jobs. At the time, the local media, not your media, Paul, the ones who buy stuff by the barrel, were very much against us using incentives to try to keep those jobs here. They thought Trane was holding a gun to our heads. And they editorialized against it. And the local elected officials were afraid of that. An incentive package. Those 600 jobs went to Natchitoches, Louisiana. Same thing happened when we lost Goodyear. We had some of the top local elected officials in the city of Tyler at the time who thought they were bluffing. They're just playing a game. They're just trying to get something. I said, that's not the way these companies work. They do have choices. And it came down to 4 cities, Lafayette, Louisiana, Union City, Tennessee, and what was the city in Alabama? It'll come to me in a second. But they had plants in Tyler, Texas. We were the best performing plant in the country. Best relationship with the labor union. We were just making the wrong size tire. We were making small tires, the market was going to big tires. The other states got the governor and the legislature involved, and they put incentive packages together that were in the $100 million range. Of course, we're talking about a $500 million plus investment. Our incentive package, mostly thanks to Kevin Eltife at the time, who was no longer mayor, was $22 million. We just couldn't compete. We lost that plant. 1,000 of the highest paying jobs in East Texas. In fact, this was the good news, bad news. The average salary for Goodyear at the time, when you included base salary, fringe package, and overtime, $103,000. We thought that was good. The newspaper editorialized and said, that's way too high. They didn't take a cut. I'm going, most cities would kill for jobs that are $100,000 plus. We ended up losing that production to China, and then a few years later, Carrier went to Mexico. And so we've lost some really valuable jobs, but we have also gained a lot with the expansions of train. Tyler Pike, interestingly, at their peak back in the 60s and 70s, and y'all grew up, if you're from Tyler, with that company, they had like 4,000 employees because they had that unique technology on soil pipe design. They owned about half of the domestic market in the U.S. They did a $110 million upgrade about 20 years ago, and they now have about 400 employees. They make the same amount of product with 400 that they used to make with 4,000. So they're still here. They still like Tyler, but it's just not nearly the employment presence that it used to be. But we've added a lot of smaller manufacturing companies, bigger food processing. Look at the success story of John Souls. Homegrown company, 2 people in 1975. Now they are the largest producer of pre-cooked fajita meats in the United States. Yeah, they have 800, or pushing 800 here. They have over 800 in a location outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And they are now building a facility in northeast Alabama, 500,000 square feet that'll have 500-600 employees. They're the reason we got introduced to Sanderson Farms, because they're the 3rd largest customer, non-institutional customer, and non-retail customer for Sanderson Farms. And so now Sanderson is open, $225 million investment, 1,700 jobs, and a real good community player. I think I mentioned them to you in a couple of previous discussions that they're the ones who started pushing the minimum wage for unskilled people up to $15 an hour here. Plus, after 90 days, the employee gets their insurance paid for, 80% of their insurance covered by the company for the employee and the employee's family. That's hard to find these days. And if an employee wants to finish school, get a certification, or start a program, 100%. They'll pay for it. So, we're also more diverse for some other reasons. We now we're a medical center, and we're about to get a medical school. What a huge impact that's going to be. In fact, Dr. Ray Perman, the economist, did an analysis of that. It'd be about an $18 billion impact over about 10 years. And just hundreds and thousands of direct, indirect, and induced jobs just because of a medical school. And you're all thinking, where's that going to be? Is that going to be out at UT Health Science Center? It is not. It's going to be near downtown, not on the square, but most likely it'd be somewhere along the hospital corridor on Beckham there. You know where the pedestrian bridge is when you're driving on Beckham? There's some open property there just north of Lake Street on the east side. That's probably the lead site for that project. A lot of the local funding for construction has already been put together. It doesn't hurt that, and you've heard this name before, that a guy named Kevin Eltife, our former mayor, city council person, state senator for 10 years, is what's politely known in economic development as the 800-pound gorilla. He is chairman of the UT system Board of Regents. That's why we're getting a medical school in Tyler, Texas. So he's put all the pieces together, raised most of the construction money, got to get some approvals from the legislature and the Higher Education Coordinating Board, but that should happen because Kevin knows how to do it. He knows how to move it through that system. We're an educational center, higher education, 23,000 full-time students now. Full-time students, doesn't count what you get over on the West Campus with continuing studies or certifications or any of that. Get about 10,000 at UT Tyler, 12,000 at TJC, another 1,000 at Texas College. What's your latest number, Mitch?
Latest for us, we're still over 12,000.
Over 12,000. You know, 23,000 on one campus, you have now. The other area that drives us is we're a regional retail center. You know, we've got this outdoor mall, and of course, retail is just struggling now for obvious reasons from the pandemic. But while that mall was being built out, and eventually it would be 750,000 square feet, just by comparison, the existing mall is 600,000 square feet. The existing mall, with very few exceptions, has had a waiting list the entire time that the Cumberland Village was being built out. A lot of people thought that, well, here's what will happen. You're going to build that new outdoor mall to the new mall. And what have you gained? Well, that didn't happen. And the reason that didn't happen is because our retail group serves a population of about 440,000 within about a 30-35 mile radius around where we're standing and sitting right now. Those are defined as people who come in here at least once a week to buy something. And it can be, you know, groceries, it could be medical services, it could be, you know, personal nail care, hair care, whatever it is. 440,000. Then you have a total retail trade area, and these numbers probably track what you look at, Paul, in terms of your market. 820,000 in the total retail. Now, that definition is somebody that may only come in here once a month, or back to school, or tax-free holiday, or Christmas. As I've said many times, 3 times of the year, you don't see Tom Mullins on South Broadway. I'm not going to do it. You know, what was the Yogi Berra quote, Paul? People don't go, nobody goes there anymore because it's so crowded.
For Yogi Berra. Yep. I love Yogi.
Yeah, we miss Yogi Berra. But nevertheless, we are a regional retail hub. So that brings dollars, and that's important economically speaking because the more variety that we add to our retail market, the less leakage that we have. People don't have to go to Dallas or Houston to get that special service or to get that retail variety. They can find it here. And then on the opposite direction, a lot of people would prefer to buy and shop in a smaller metro area like Tyler and Smith County than deal with the traffic and the congestion in a Dallas or a Houston. So we win on both sides of that equation. Then we're a financial center, we're a center for retirees. A lot of people push back on us when we became the first certified retirement city in Texas. That was an initiative of the chamber, right, BJ? You helped us on that. And they said, what do you want a bunch of old people coming in here?
Because they have.
They just vote against it.
We weren't old people then.
No, we're all
Massive assets.
There you go. They vote against bond issues, you know, because they don't have children in school and they don't care about it. In reality, they have massive, what we call mailbox income into your community. They either have a retirement check, or a Social Security check, or an investment check, or all three. Studies show that out of 78 million baby boomers, 20-some million are going to relocate from where they lived and worked for years to another location. Being in the center of the country, in a mild climate, with no personal income tax. A lot of people are coming in for that reason. And here's another part of it. There are people in this room that moved to Tyler for some of those reasons who are very talented. So not only do they bring new money into the economy, but they bring their skill sets. And they are retiring at younger ages, and they're getting engaged in the community. So we've really won with that. Plus, Texas A&M, Southern Mississippi, and one other state, might have been Arkansas, did a study about 20-some years ago, and they interviewed recently retired people. And they asked, if you've been here for at least 2 years, have you had a chance to vote on a school bond issue? If they did, over 70% of them voted to support it. Why? Because they're higher educated, higher income, they know the value of education. So it's actually a plus, even in what we were criticized for. Technology is growing here, and that's because of the university. Just some quick facts. Well, let me just summarize that by saying all of those things have gone towards diversifying the economy. In the 30-plus years, we worked on 182 projects. They created 12,000 new primary jobs, retained 15,000 jobs, and resulted in the construction of $1.2 billion in new facilities. Thank you. So now, what's happening today? We're all kind of on pins and needles, really. Here's something that's driving, and it's going to drive Tyler. Not only is this diverse economy going to help us, but our population continues to grow. We're one of the fastest growing metropolitan, mid-sized metropolitan areas in Texas. I just want to remind you, 80% of everything in Texas is in what's called the Triangle. The Triangle goes from Fort Worth, Interstate 45 to Houston, Interstate 10 to San Antonio, Interstate 35 up to Austin, Waco, back to Dallas-Fort Worth. 80% of the traffic, 80% of the growth, 80% of the income, 80% of the legislative clout. We're kind of over here by ourselves. But Lloyd, it's not Garrett, but he's the current state demographer for Texas. Potter, University of San Antonio, UT San Antonio. He was here a few years ago, and he said he'd observed something interesting about Tyler. That triangle, because of Tyler's growth, Tyler-Smith County combined really, is going to become a modified rectangle, because that point up here on the north end is going to move over to Tyler-Smith County because of our growth rate. He made another interesting observation. At that time, there were 2 cities in Texas actually getting younger. Everybody else was baby booming out, getting older. Midland and Tyler were both getting younger. Our average age now is 33.4 years. It's a mind boggler for a lot of people, because we did such a good job of selling Tyler as a retirement destination. People think that our average age is retirement. It's not. It's 33. It's driven by 2 factors. Young Hispanic families, which is also driving Midland, and students. Students are staying here to get educated. A lot of percentages show that a good percentage, 50+%, if they can find a job where they get educated, they'll stay there, they'll start a family, and that contributes to that younger demographic.
And not the Rotary Club of Tyler.
What do you mean not the Rotary Club?
It's not driving the age.
Oh no, you're contributing to the other side. So we're a regional center for labor. We have a labor force of just under 110,000, and the city of Tyler population, incidentally, the population of Smith County is 232,000 now. The census is done. If they were able to get a good count in all the subgroups, we should be pushing 250,000 for Tyler-Smith County, our MSA.
How much for Tyler proper?
About half of that. Okay. About 125 just in the city of Tyler.
Drive down the street.
What was the population for Tyler proper? If the MSA, which is Tyler-Smith County combined, is going to be close to 250, how's that split out? And it's almost half and half. Slightly larger in the county. But Tyler is going to grow considerably. And the census is important. A lot of stuff, a lot of these national chains in particular will not look at communities unless they hit certain population thresholds. Like if you're 50,000, you're eligible for us to look at you. 100,000, 150. And so getting those population numbers right is very important, not to mention some of the other representation and grant sources. City of Tyler unemployment started this year at 3.3%. That was the number in January. Good news, bad news. Unemployment under 5% is considered by most economists as full employment. We were 3.3. So people who wanted a job are getting a job. The bad news is
People want employees.
we had 3.3% unemployment. Where are the people? If I move to your town, I'm employer XYZ, where am I going to find people? That's why we work so closely with Tyler Junior College and UT Tyler to document the labor force area and the shed and the characteristics, because a lot of young people, and not necessarily just young people, a lot of people in East Texas, their first choice is to stay in East Texas. If they can't find lucrative employment in East Texas, then they'll move away, and then when they get older and want to start a family, they'll come back. So it's important that we be able to continue to provide those jobs. Now, the unemployment rate's going up. The last one, I think it hit about 7.5% in the summer. It came down a little bit the last few months, but now because of this pandemic, it's going back up. But typically, Tyler, Smith County unemployment has been a point to a 1.5 lower than the state of Texas and almost 2 points lower than the U.S. Building permit activity is down by % this year. Actually, the construction trades have been doing pretty well in Tyler, but those permits are measured in number of permits and value. We tend to go up and down every couple of years with big projects. Like a couple of years ago, the hospitals had some huge projects. And incidentally, all that new construction you see going on at UT Tyler, that doesn't get counted. They don't have to pull a permit locally. They get permitted by the UT system. And so it doesn't count in our numbers. But they're down in about 18% in terms of value and about 30% in terms of total. Home sales, Claudia, you guys are up 6.7%. You know, how many stories have you heard about someone has a house on market? They put the sign out. Within days, they have several offers.
Last one I listed, 15 offers in 26 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy. It took me 3 years to sell our first house in Duluth. Because the economy there was not this strong. Now, a stronger economy when we were in Rochester took us 10 days, and we had multiple offers. So it makes a difference. Sales tax is down not much, by less than 0.5% year to date. And keep in mind, a lot of the sales tax is driven by energy, and energy's been down most of this year. Hotel occupancy down by 21%, obvious reasons. Airport activity down by 42%, obvious reasons. Here's something long-term that I like to point out to people. Our per capita income in Tyler, Texas now, per capita income is higher than the U.S. average and is $55,222 per capita. You want that because you want more income coming into households so they can buy more stuff and have a better quality of life. Our cost of living stays in the low 90s. Dr. Ray Perriman just came out last week with another, Pamela has another name, it's Hook. She's about to give me. Pamela, I'm almost done here, but I just want to tell you, raise a little concern about what's about to hit us this fall. Because you're going to see more closing, especially in the retail and service sector, people losing their jobs, unemployment rate going up. And that's it, Pam. Any quick burning questions, Paul?
I watched, I get to watch two cities grow, because I live in Dallas, I work here, I'm in both all the time. I watched Dallas come of age. It reached the point when it moved into the top 10 that they had to spend $2 billion redoing Central Expressway because the traffic was so bad. I see the same thing happening with South Broadway. I do. I mean, I see that central artery choking down. Is the city and the state prepared to address that problem?
Oh no. I'm just so glad you asked that, Paul. This is classic NIMBY mentality. Everybody know what NIMBY stands for?
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard. Or it's what we in economic development called cave people mentality. Citizens against virtually everything. We were asked to be on an advisory committee 2 years ago by the city of Tyler and interviewed consultants to do improvements on Broadway. When we went to the public meeting, some of the property owners on Broadway were furious. Started making phone calls, and suddenly the project was no longer a priority. So the only way it's going to get back up there is when people are parked there too long and they're just so frustrated. But right now it's on. I'm going to give you one more example of that, Paul. So then TxDOT and the city said, well, we'll go over to Old Jacksonville and we'll improve the flow over there because that's getting just as bad. Well, a few employers at the corner of Old Jacksonville and the Loop picked up the phone and said, Now that's on hold. Come on, people. If we don't deal with our transportation infrastructure and we're sitting in 4 lanes of traffic, bumper to bumper, our economy dies. People will not come to it, so we've got to get ahead of that, Paul. Thanks for asking that question. Pamela? Hey.
Tom.
Sit down yet.
Yeah, we're not through.
We want you back. Yeah, we missed you.
I'm trying to rush you along because we would like to, in honor of your tremendous service to all of East Texas, and I could go on and on about this because I started selling real estate in 1980 because I was unemployed because the company, oil and gas company I worked for, went bankrupt. At that time, East Texas was about 50-50 energy and ag, and it was rough. My first listing was on the market 4 years, so it was a tough time. But I'll say this, due to Tom Mullins, we've come a long way, baby.
We'd like to take a moment as the meeting closes here to make 2 presentations to you in honor of your distinguished leadership over this past 31 years. Our club has a Paul Harris Fellowship to present to you. Paul Harris was the founder of Rotary in 1905. Significant recognition of your distinguished leadership, and we have the Paul Harris pin for you as well.
Thank you.
And my friend Tom, I would, since we work in the same building, so for the last 14 years, I've known Tom longer, for the 31 years now. But I've constantly gone down to Tom's office when I need a source of wisdom to go, I'm stuck on a project or just need kind of a little, pat on the back, go get him again, cowboy. I go to Tom, so I'm going to miss you there. But on behalf of the Rotary Club of Tyler, we also have a program called the Billy Hibbs Fellow. Billy Hibbs, I know you know Junior, but I know you probably knew Billy, his dad, who was a very influential guy. He started we have our own Tyler Rotary Club Foundation. So we're going to
There's no words, but thank you, Tom.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I get choked up a little bit. I remember the newspaper that came out announcing Tom Mullins coming to town and was going to be head of the TEDC, and I thought, dear God, I pray, please let this man make a difference in East Texas, and boy, has he made a difference. We have so much to be thankful to Tom for. Okay, and I sit here looking back at my 90-year-old mother and thanking God that I can take care of her at this point in her life, and thanks to real estate in East Texas and people wanting to move here because of the things that Tom has encouraged us to do and helped us do. I have been blessed with that. So, okay, it's time for the Ace of Diamonds drawing, and we'd like for Tom to draw a ticket. Everybody get your ticket out. Read the last 3 numbers. I think we've got to over $1,300 in the pot, and if the winner of this drawing draws the ace of diamonds, they win the pot, but they have to give 50% to us, to the club. So that's just fair, you know.
Okay, let me say it so everybody here.
1,349 in the pot.
All right, the last three numbers, 859. 859.
Everybody look at your ticket.
They have to
Why
be.
did it take so long to figure this out?
You got it, Jennifer?
Jennifer's, this is my personal ticket this time.
All right.
But I'm hoping for a donor ticket too.
Yeah, we have an anonymous donor who buys quite a few tickets every month, and if that one of those tickets wins, then it all comes back to the club. But this is Jen's, and so good luck, Jen. Do it.
Do it, do it.
How many cards are left?
26.
26.
Oh, she didn't win.
Darn. Better luck next time. Thank you all so much for coming today. If you'll stand and join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair and well-deserved? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you again for coming today. Have a great afternoon.